Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. Good. We're ready to go?
Yep, we're good.
Good morning. And welcome to the Committee of Adjustment meeting for August the 14th, 2024. My name is Don Popple, and I'm your chairman today. And our committee consists of Chris Bishop, Gerald Walker, Barry Boyce, and we have Jeff, who is the Director of Planning with us, Jeff Isles, and we have Adam Meyer, who is the Deputy Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment. So a notice to all those in attendance is that this meeting will be live streamed on YouTube and recorded. And please note the recording will be linked to the municipal website following the meeting. We've already introduced the committee. This is a public hearing to consider 4 applications for a minor variance to the municipality zoning bylaw. It's this committee's responsibility to consider all information received to date regarding the requested variances and to hear and consider any comments or questions provided by these applications. Any variances granted by the committee must meet 4 tests, which are very clearly defined in the Planning Act. The requested variance must be minor in nature, desirable for the property development of the land, comply with the general intent of the official plan, and comply with the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Please note that if anyone wishes to be notified of the decision, please make a request in writing to the municipality. Does any committee member wish to declare a conflict of interest for any one of these applications? The answer being no, we'll carry on. Any oral or written submissions received in advance of the meeting will be verbally read aloud at the time the application is considered. All persons who have pre-registered will have an opportunity to present or ask questions about these proposals. Please direct all your questions and comments to the chair. Please state your name in relation to the application prior to speaking. First thing we're going to do is adopt the minutes from the meeting of July the 10th. So if someone would make a motion to that, we'll clear that up. Moved by Barry Boyce. Seconded by Gerald Walker. Be resolved that the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment meeting on July the 10th, 2024 be adopted. All in favor? That's carried. And we're ready to go, eh?
The second election.
I need a mover and a seconder for the minutes of that meeting of August 13th. Chris? Seconder? Gerald? It's moved and seconded the minutes of the August 13th meeting, site inspection be adopted. Carried? We're good. Okay. You got another one? Well, this is for the one we're going to deal with. Okay, the first application is Smallwood from lands of Harcourt Park. We just have a seat right there. Press the button on or make sure it's hooked up.
Jeff Smallwood.
You're there.
Hi.
Perfect. Jeff Smallwood. Jeff, just to bring us up to date on I don't think we have to go through everything because we were there yesterday, but just so we get a general consensus on what we're talking about here. So the variances that you've requested 3 variances. One is to permit a shed to have a minimum water setback of 24 feet as opposed to required minimum of 66 feet. And another to permit a workshop to have a minimum interior side lot line setback of 0.38 meters as opposed to the required minimum of 3.28 feet or 1.25. and a variance of provisions section 5.2 to permit 3 accessory buildings plus 1-story building less than 10 square meters or 108 square feet in area, as opposed to permitted maximum of 2 plus 1-story building less than 10 square meters or 108 square feet. That's correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Anybody like to start off with a question from yesterday's meeting? We did have a site meeting yesterday.
Yep.
Around there, a lovely spot. I think I kind of made up my decision the last meeting, but I think I had a look and saw it. And unfortunately, my opinion is that the shed built the wrong permit and it was within the water setback. And if we were to allow you to do that, we would be setting a terrible precedent for your lake, but all the other lakes there. Yeah. 13 by 19. Here, I would be worried about setting precedent. You know, given how I've written my whole life, and I know you've commented that there's many other flavors on the lake that are something similar, but that doesn't mean that because somebody else has done something that they shouldn't have done, that everybody.
I wouldn't refer to it as, I'm looking to have the same treatment. I was looking for the same consideration for that. In the 2015 174 file, that's a full home that was put in, I was allowed to build 46 feet away from the water. This council allowed that. So I was looking for, there is no heat in it. There is nothing like that. That was a consideration that I was looking for that.
I think we're in a difficult position here because we've turned tons of these down in the water setback. And in your instance, there is we're responsible and we deal with the official plan and the zoning bylaw. And in the official plan, it states very clearly that buildings will not be allowed within the water setback, and that this will be strictly enforced. So there's the problem we have. And
Yeah, I'm going.
So I actually looked at that permit. It was from another minor variance. I had reviewed it. It was the rebuilding of a legal non-complying building. That's why it was built where it was. It had legal status there.
There was nothing on that building. There's nothing on that property. That property had nothing on it. The shield was blown out of there. The trees were all cut down. There was nothing that was existing on that piece of property. That was a vacant property that 2 pieces of property were put together.
The property you were speaking about and the building
Yeah.
permit, I reviewed it. It was a legal non-complying building that was rebuilt.
Okay,
And if I may, just
Go ahead.
regardless, there are several buildings within the municipality located within the water setback. Today, we should just be focusing on the property that we're looking at.
go ahead, Joe.
So Don, or Chairman, I'll agree with Chris. Can't set a precedent. We have turned a number of these structures down within the setback, so my recommendation is that we deny the application.
Barry?
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel bad for you. But I do agree with them. Couple of things. One, it's not really, what you're asking for isn't really minor and we have to go with the minor variance. And we would be setting a definite precedent that I don't think we want to get into. So I agree.
So I don't know how much work it is to take it apart and move it back, but it seems to me that's where we're heading on this. Jeff?
And just if I may, so there are 2 other variances being requested that still require decision. Based on the discussion, we might want to look at the conditions as well, because if the committee's leaning towards denying that water setback variance, there's some conditions that might not be required. So we might want to look at those again.
Carry on.
You want to?
Yep, so since the last meeting, no new comments have been received. These are the recommended conditions from staff to the committee for this application. A few may not apply. I'm gonna read them through and then we'll look over which ones do not apply if the shed and the water setback is denied. So 1, these variances apply to a shed and accessory structures as shown generally on the property sketch dated November 21st, 2023 and attached to the decision. Any encroachment beyond the variance granted herein will require a further application for a minor variance. 2, the County of Halliburton Shoreline Tree Preservation bylaw 3505 applies. The injuring or destruction of trees within 30 meters of the high water mark is not permitted. The exemptions noted in section 3 of bylaw 3505 apply. Furthermore, additional native shoreline planting is encouraged to screen the buildings, naturalize the shoreline, and address environmental concerns. 3, during construction, proper site preparation and construction methods are to be used to prevent sedimentation of the adjacent lake. Sediment fencing is to be installed down gradient from the construction site. The site is to be properly stabilized immediately following construction to prevent erosion and sedimentation. 4, prior to the pouring of footings, the applicants must submit confirmation from an Ontario land surveyor that the shed meets the granted water setback. 5, prior to the pouring of footings, the applicants must submit confirmation from an Ontario land surveyor that the workshop meets the granted interior side lot line setback. 6, prior to the pouring of footings, the applicants must submit confirmation from an Ontario land surveyor that the seasonal dwelling meets the interior side lot line setback. 7, if the variance to the minimum water setback is approved, the applicant must obtain an environmental impact study to determine that there will be no negative impacts on the natural heritage features as per section 5.3.4 of the official plan. The applicants will be required to implement all recommendations of the EIS report. 8, the applicant shall obtain a building permit for the shed. 9, prior to September 1st, 2024, the sheds located within the minimum water setback shall be removed or moved into compliance with the zoning bylaw, and the shoreline be repaired to a natural state using native vegetation. 10, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the total number of accessory buildings shall be brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw. 11, no windows, doors, lights, decks, or stairs are permitted on the side of the workshop abutting the interior side lot line. So looking at them, condition 4, prior to the pouring of footings, the applicants must submit confirmation from an Ontario land surveyor that the shed meets granted water setback. Does not seem necessary if it's denied. Condition 7 of the EIS would not be required if the shed is removed. And then condition number 8, that the applicant shall obtain a building permit for the shed is not necessary if it's removed.
Jeff,
If I may add one other thing on condition 9, it notes that prior to September 1st, that shed should be removed if that minimum water setback is denied. This was originally looked at last month by the Committee of Adjustment. So September 1st might be a bit of a quick turnaround for the applicants. So it sounds like you might want to discuss with, to come up with maybe a time frame that's not so near in the future, October 1st, November, whatever you guys find suitable.
oh, what would be reasonable?
Is there, can I ask a question
Sure.
here? Is there a possibility of making it smaller? Is there a possibility of reducing the footprint from the 267 down to the 160?
It does, what's the minimum for we're not requiring a building permit?
Just to clarify, I believe the applicant's asking, like, can he reduce the size of that structure and keep it within the water setback? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah. So as per the policies, specifically the official plan, like no structures are permitted within the water setback or no buildings. So that's what the policy says. Again, it's a committee decision, but policy says it's to be strictly adhered to in terms of that setback. It doesn't matter what the size of that building is.
Okay,
okay, one other thing here is there's been a motion put forward in council for anything that has over a 30-degree shoreline that has been brought up by Tammy, second by Barry. When is that coming into discussions here in August? Is it not on the council meeting for the end of August?
You respond to that, Barry?
I haven't seen the agenda yet, so I don't know that for sure.
Okay,
If it's coming up on this month or not, it is in discussions for sure. I have my opinions on it, but I can't tell you here if it's gonna pass or not. Obviously by my bringing it up, that's what I would like to see, but that doesn't mean it's gonna happen. And again, I can't tell you whether that's coming in August because I haven't seen the agenda yet.
no, I wouldn't hold you to anything, but if there is a future discussion that is coming up that's in a short time
Well,
frame.
Well, I tell you, maybe the best bet then, if we, like this date that you're talking about, if we could maybe extend that to November 1st or something, and then it might be settled by then. And that would give you an possible opportunity to
Yeah, I think we
to
could do
shrink
that.
it in size.
Yeah.
Again, don't hold me to that because I can't say that for sure. But if we give them a little extension on
Yep.
as far as tearing it out of there, I don't see that as being an issue. Yeah.
So if we have to come down to where we move it, how many trees do you want us to take down that are already standing there? That's my thing. I'm a tree hugger.
Right, yes.
And I object to trees being
Yes.
taken down.
I totally understand that, but somehow it got there without taking trees down. So I would say it would be able to come out of there without taking trees down. If you know what I mean.
If we had to go back to the 66 feet, that's
That's a problem.
almost.
We've got a straight uphill that you can't go up against.
But-
Tell
but
us about it.
Yeah. but-
Just to backtrack for a second. If you have applied for a building permit.
Yep.
I'm 99% sure it would have been turned down.
That's understood.
So, and I think you probably know that too.
Yeah, I understand that. That's something that I made a mistake on.
So in fairness to you, I think what Barry's suggesting, if we give some time in there. It's, we've been through hundreds of situations like this. I've been on this committee a long time. And chances are, I'd say 99%, if you'd applied for a permit, they wouldn't have allowed you to do it. So there's where we're at. The other thing is that discussions and decisions made by this committee today, you have the right to object, but you go to a higher landing, but it's not cheap. Because you're dealing with a provincial agency as opposed to us. And but I have to tell you that you have the right to do that if you wish to challenge what we're saying here.
Yep, no,
So-
I understood that. I read that in the notes for this file.
Right.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you. But if I would appreciate it if we could hold off on that date until a potential decision is made for the angles of the property. I would
So
appreciate.
what sort of timing are you looking at?
When that type of a decision is comes to bear, how it sort of works. I'd hate to have to tear something down and then a month later it comes through that this is now allowed. That would be that'd be bothersome. Or it would yeah, I would like that opportunity if something will change or may change, or there's an opportunity for that to be reconsidered in the.
So
near
we said
future.
So
November?
I'm gonna ask, maybe Jeff can help me out on this, or Adam. So if we allowed till November 1st, say, it still hasn't been settled in council whether that's gonna happen or not. Can we extend that time a little bit, or is there just sort of a cutoff there? We can't extend it indefinitely, but how could that how can we make that work or what?
Well, first off, if it does go to council, I think we would know what direction council would be leaning towards. So if it was discussed in August or September, I'm not aware it's coming into August. But we would know the direction from council by that point. So I don't think staff would go about enforcing something that we knew the policy was going to change. There's been other instances of this like with regards to saunas and stuff like that. So we're not gonna enforce it if we know council's gonna change their policy. The one thing I would mention is, based on the discussions I've heard, is the way they want it, council wants to change the policy, and maybe you can clarify, is there's existing provisions on Percy Lake for steep lots that allow structures in the water setback. But those structures are limited to 10 square meters, which are 100 square feet. And to take advantage of those provisions, you need a zoning bylaw amendment, you need to purchase your shore road allowance, and you need a site plan agreement as well. So there are several approvals that need to be obtained before you can even build that shed. So to me, I think the big one's the 10 square meters. This structure doesn't comply. But yeah, we can put a date on it that would just kind of hold off any enforcement until we have that council direction.
Okay, well, then that's like, I don't know, do we make a motion on that one now, or do we want to go through here and finish up with the other, issues? There's two other issues here, right?
Well, let's do a mover and someone make a mover and a seconder. I need a mover and a seconder to the A variance. Section 5.2 to permit a shed to have a minimum water setback of 7.3 meters or 24 feet, as opposed to required minimum of 20 meters or 66 feet is.
Well, I guess it's denied with the conditions that we change that date from, when was that, September 1st? What condition was that, 9?
Yeah, currently it's condition 9 at September 1st.
So if we make that November 1st,
Yeah, effective November 1st. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, we can change that, and staff would also seek confirmation about those other conditions, conditions 4, 7, and 8 to remove them as well, because I don't think they're applicable.
So you can have that information included. So basically, are you moving, we deny the variance?
the first, yes. the,
Okay, is there a
uh,
seconder? Jerry?
Does Adam have to, do you have to reread those conditions then now, or we're?
No, I don't think we need to remove them. I mean, reread them. We can just remove them because they don't pertain to the buildings that would be remaining on the lands. But the committee should still have discussion with regards to the remaining 2 variances.
So, and just to make double sure, we have changed that date then too. Besides removal, we've changed the date.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can remove it. We can change that.
okay. The second one we're dealing with. Am I overstepping here, Don?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
One-
Variance section 5.2 to put a workshop to have a minimum interior side lot line setback of 0.38 meters or 1.25 feet, as opposed to the required minimum of 1 meter or 3.28 feet. Denied.
I'm okay with that. That's a minor issue as far as I'm concerned, so I'm okay with that.
Is there a
Granting
seconder?
that.
I'm fine with that.
Granted? All in favor? Okay. And the third one is a variance is provision of section 5.2 to permit 3 accessory building plus one story building less than 10 square meters or 108 square feet in area, as opposed to the permitted maximum of 2 plus 1 story building less than 10 square meters or 108 square feet in area is.
If the one is have to be torn down at the lake, then the other ones can stay, because is that my understanding?
So if they want to still keep that shed, but move
Yeah.
it back into compliance with the zoning bylaw, then that variance is still necessary. So you could still approve it with 4 accessory buildings if they want to keep that shed.
And if you were allowed to keep a shed at the lake, then one would have to be removed because there's an extra one now. Is that correct? Yeah. It's a little complicated.
If the newer shed was granted, that metal shed would be gone, right? There is, you guys looked inside the shed, there's nothing in there. We did not put anything in there. We did not take, we did not put any possessions in there. That's the reason why we didn't do that, and it stopped any work that was done on it. So that the metal shed, that plan was already to get rid of that if the new one was approved.
So are we,
Well, so how, and so it gets complicated because now, you won't have to,
The metal
You-
shed
you-
is going no matter what.
oh, you're gonna get rid of it no matter what?
No matter what, it
Okay,
has
well,
to
that's
go.
okay. Well, I don't,
It's fallen apart. It's been there 50 years.
okay, and then there's no issue. Okay.
Adam, you'll have to work your magic on how you're gonna work that.
How are you gonna work?
where are we going with the third variance?
You.
I complicated it, did I? I'm sorry.
An agreement that this can be gone?
Yeah, it's gonna be gone. It's falling apart.
Mom's a landowner.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be, so if you put it in the word, sorry, you put the wording in that it's gonna be, the landowners agreed to remove it?
And we do have a condition to remove that.
Remove it, so it
That
has to be
small
so-
shed, but so just for the seeking direction from the committee. Since you've denied that water setback variance, hypothetically, they could still move that structure or rebuild it somewhere in compliance, which would be the fourth accessory structure. So do you want to still allow them to keep that shed somewhere that complies with the setbacks, which would be the fourth accessory building? So in that instance, you'd need to grant that variance.
So number C is granted.
Staff have no concerns with that as per the report. It would need to be granted if you want to recognize, I believe it's the workshop. There's 4 other structures, including the larger shed that's at the lake. But that shed would have to be moved within to the proper setbacks.
We're all in favor of that?
So if I can just clarify, they can, if we grant this variance here, they can relocate that shed back within compliance, and that's what is covered by this variance. It's basically to have four structures on that lot, correct?
Correct. And if you denied it, then they wouldn't be able to rebuild that, or if they wanted to, they would have to pick another structure to remove before they could. So
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused there. So if they removed the tin shed that they're talking about, they'd still have 4?
correct. So that
Okay.
4 does not include that tin shed.
Okay.
At the lake.
Go ahead.
So I'll move that we grant this variance of four structures on the property.
All in favor? Carried. Okay. Apparently my machine keeps coming off.
Thank you.
If you need any help with any of that, you just work through Jeff or Adam here and they'll walk you with it, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I think I'm subscribed to all the council meetings, so I'll just pay attention to the ones that are coming up for any discussions that are coming along.
Fair enough. Thanks
you.
for your attendance.
Just wait a second, I gotta bring it in.
Okay. Mr. McCreevy,
On TV.
he's on TV. Is he in there?
Paul, can you hear us?
Not talking. Well, let's move on to the third one and come back to this.
Yeah. So Paul, can you hear us? Can you unmute your mic and your video?
We're only showing us.
There we go. Did that get me?
We can
No,
hear you, but we can't see you.
okay. Not quite sure why. Oh, start the video. How's that? Allow. I think here I come. There we go.
There you go. You're there.
Thank you. Excellent. Oh,
Okay,
okay.
Paul, you want to just give us a quick synopsis of what you're looking for here?
Sure, no problem. First of all, thanks for letting me speak. I couldn't be there in person. I still live and do a little bit of work down in Hamilton. I just couldn't make it up for today's meeting. But my situation is this. I'm kind of desperate. I'm trying to cut a means of egress into my house, a secondary exit. And I have a tight little piece of property there. My existing house, it's very long and narrow. My exit, the primary entrance exit right now is at the far west end of the building. But the house, it's a split level. And when you go to the basement, it's a long way down. It has a furnace in the middle of the basement that chokes off the front of the house even farther. So when people go to the basement at the front of the house, to me, it's a fire trap. It's too far away from the exit. And what's happening now is my nephew is 19. My sister lives in the house. She primarily occupies the home, and she encourages him and his friends to go down there because it's in town. There's less driving. She knows where they are. So all weekend long, I have these kids, teenagers, flopping on couches in the basement. The basement's a fire trap. And I'm just desperate, trying to cut a second means of egress just in case anything ever happened. I first started by approaching my neighbor about a severance, and I was granted the severance, but he's non-compliant. So that kind of shut me down there. My second option was to ask for an amendment to my occupational license out the front. I'm a little surprised that that one was shut down, but I noticed that on the recording of the meeting, there was some misinformation kind of happened there. But now I'm here asking for this. As long as I'm allowed to cut an entrance, a secondary, a means of egress at the front of the house, that's what I'm after. This, variance would allow me that tiny little exit. I'm not minded about that. And then the other variance, because I thought I could buy the piece of property, I went a little over on my lot coverage. So my whole big mess stems from wanting to have means of egress at the front of this house. And so I'm hoping you guys have some sort of an appetite to help me do something here. I'm not sure which way to go. I'm asking for, some advice, what I can do, what you people can do to help me out.
Gentlemen? Go ahead, Gerald.
So this, I believe, is the property right across from the front entrance of the
Correct.
building here. I noticed you
Yes.
have a deck on the front.
Yes.
When I looked at it, I just wondered if there isn't a way to do a type of a walkout on the front. So you could have,
That would be,
like, under the deck there, if that was dropped down, you could probably do that entrance on that portion of the building.
that would be ideal. And all I was asking for was a little intrusion to the north into road easement for a stairwell, just a couple of steps to get out from under the deck. But there's a little bit of misunderstanding. I think people were thinking that I would be getting too close to the road. But absolutely, that would help me out enormously. And all I would have is a couple of steps. The grade is 6 feet below the floor there. So I only have to go down 2 feet, and I'm at foundation, and I can walk out from under that deck to the north with 2 steps. And yes, I'm still well back away from where the snow would be pushed. That would be an ideal solution and really help me out a lot.
Go ahead, Joe.
So because the land in front of this house is municipal road allowance, he would need council approval to do that walkout in front. And he did attend council last month with that request for council for a license of occupation to allow that to occur, and council denied that.
So where are we going?
So, could I say something there? Yeah, so I did not make the meeting, and that was on me. That was a mistake that I made to not show up in person. But as I say, there was a little bit of misinformation happening at that meeting. I think a few people were not clear as to what I was asking, and yes, unfortunately, it was denied. So I don't know whether we could revisit that. But that would certainly be the best option for me, the least intrusive that I see. My neighbor there, he seems to be very non-compliant and not interested in taking down that fence, unfortunately, and that's the first thing that's stopping me.
Go ahead.
So I just have a question for Jeff. So is the deck on the road allowance?
Yes, a good portion of the deck is on the road allowance, so the applicant does have an existing license of occupation with the municipality to have that deck there. So the request that went to council last month was to add more to that license of occupation, the walkout, and council denied the request. But the deck is legal there because he has an existing license from council.
So he can legally walk out the front door, but if he puts a door in the basement, he can't legally walk out yet. Is that what I understand?
Correct. So the existing license.
What I would need,
Carry on, Jeff.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, yes, so the existing license of occupation is for the deck and the retaining wall. Not for the walkout basement that he was, and the stairs that he was requesting.
So he shouldn't need stairs though. Like you should be able to cut a door in below the deck. And there's no stairs required that I could see.
I would just, moving to the north to get out from underneath the deck, I would just have to, I would need 2 stairs to the north to just get back up to ground level after I cleared the north end of the deck. So you would go down 2 stairs, then walk underneath the deck.
Sorry, I guess what I'm
So just
looking at is,
a slight intrusion.
so what I'm looking at is not coming out to the north, is strictly coming straight out to the street. And then that way you don't require any stairs. But the issue that I can see, and I think we've discussed, is coming to the north means you're gonna encroach on the neighbor's property, which kind of legally you won't even be able to step off those steps onto your own property, which is actually less desirable than walking out on the street, in my mind.
I think we're still a little unclear there. It would be 2 steps up to ground level, but 2 steps, say 24 inches, 2 12-inch steps, I have 44 there before the property line. So technically I could make those 2 steps and still be shy of the property line and be back up on ground level. But if I wanted to move forward out, that would just require moving. There's a stone retaining wall out front that I was asked to keep there so the snowplows can't get any closer to my deck. So then I would have to rechange the grade completely, which I would be willing to do. I could rechange that grade. It might be roads department and put big rocks there so the snowplows can't get any closer. I'm more than willing to do that, but it would require changing the slope of the ground, which is all your guys' property.
If I can make a comment, all this conversation is great conversation, but it doesn't have anything to do with what we need to decide on here today. Am I correct in that?
Understood.
I
Absolutely.
know we're sympathetic to your situation, but what we have to deal with today is not what you can do in the future. What we're dealing with is the 2 minor variances have been applied.
Why can't we
for
just
today.
defer it?
So, well, then I don't think
Understood.
I don't think we need to defer on these 2 decisions. And if we defer on, or if we deny, we don't need to defer on the decision, but whatever we decide today, whatever the plan, another variance applied for, another just is in the future. It doesn't have any application here today. Am I correct there?
I think so, maybe seeking clarification from Mr. McGreevy. So if you did go back to council, because the amendment to the license would be a council decision, you're right, not a committee decision. But if you did go back to council and they were agreeable this time, would you still need the variance to the side lot line setback and the variance to lot coverage?
Yes.
So could we not,
Could we
could
not
you
go
not
ahead
put
with
the
that?
stairs on the inside of
Yes,
the building?
I would.
2 steps up from the inside? Just a thought.
Is there anything wrong with what he's asking for as far as the two variances we're dealing with?
So as per the staff report, staff do have concerns with the requested variance. So right now he's asking for a 4-inch side lot line setback for an addition. In staff's opinion, that creates privacy issues, drainage issues, trespass issues, just even to construct or maintain that addition. But if there's a different scenario where he reapproached council for a license of occupation and say that setback was for something else like stairs, then it might be something that the committee could still want to consider. So like, if that's what you were thinking, you could defer it until council's made a decision.
Why don't we defer it based on that and then let's see if we can put the thing together with him and the council.
And Paul, what the suggestion might be there is to talk to your ward counselor and just kind of explain your situation and what you're really proposing before it gets to council so that they have a better understanding of what you were asking.
And we can't hear you, Paul.
Okay,
Oh,
sure.
Gerald.
I'm more than willing.
I'd make
Yeah, if we deferred today, that'd be fine.
So I'd make a motion, we defer this.
Anyway, yes, can you get me?
until- We're kind of hearing you in and out, but I think we're gonna make a motion to
Okay.
defer the file. And that will give you an opportunity to revisit. And then in the need, if you do need a minor variance on your new decision, the file's still open and you'll have that opportunity.
He doesn't have to pay again, so.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Can I read the conditions quickly? before you-
Okay, that's very good by me, yes.
well, let's, I need a seconder to defer the decision. Okay. It's moved and seconded, variance to section 5.2 to permit a single family dwelling to have a minimum interior sideline lot line setback of 0.1 meters or 0.3 feet, as opposed to required legal non-complying minimum of 1.08 meters or 3.5 feet. Carried? It's deferred. And a variance to section 5.2 to permit maximum lot coverage of 40% as opposed to permitted maximum of 35% is also deferred based on additional information. Right. Okay. So you'll be able to be in touch with Jeff or Adam and we keep this thing going for you. We'll get it straightened out for you. Okay?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, 1 second, I gotta bring it forward.
Oh, we got to bring, what's the gentleman's name?
Andy Clayton,
Andy Clayton.
he's on the computer.
Oh, he's on the computer. Would have been a lot easier for him to come down here. Just up the street, isn't it? He just lives right here, doesn't he? Oh, he doesn't live there. Oh,
I'm just waiting for him to accept it.
okay.
No, he wanted to front.
Yeah, it's steps.
Andy, can you accept that invite to be brought forward? Your file is up now.
Maybe we need a new
Andy, would you like to speak on your application? Oh, there we go.
coming now.
Neighbors up.
Can you hear me? Oh. Adam, can you hear me? Adam?
Yep, we can hear you. It's a little
Okay,
scratchy.
Barely. Yeah.
okay, awesome.
Up here.
All right.
Can you turn your video on quick, or is that not possible? Just so the
Hang
community
on.
can see you?
There we go. Is that it? Gotcha?
Yep.
There we go. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good.
Good. Okay.
Just bring us up to date on your request.
Okay, so I originally applied for, what was it here? 4.5% to increase the lot coverage for the house.
Right.
I needed an additional 3.5 for the pool and the pool house. But
Yeah.
Adam has since come back to me, the pool is not considered part of the square footage coverage.
That's
So
correct.
it ends up only being 20% that we're looking for. So we're looking for a 5% increase on the lot coverage. Reason being, I mean, we're going to have an elderly person in a wheelchair coming to live with us, which has increased the size of everything. Hallways, bathrooms, everything gets increased. There is a gym going in there for physio for her. So she can't get to the basement. So we're doing a slab on grade house. There's no foundation here. It's a slab on grade that's going to be put in there. So that obviously now I have mechanical room storage and storage area that I have to incorporate onto this whole first floor of this building, which is a large portion of this increase.
There has been some concern by some of the neighbors about where the water ends up.
Drainage?
You got any comment on that?
Yeah, well, right now, currently, my lot sits lower than both their lots. So if they're having a drainage problem now, that's not really anything to do with this lot, to be honest. And obviously, once we are built, it's going to be graded accordingly, and we will have to ditch, just like you would normally ditch around the perimeter of the property, have everything drained to the front ditch, because it is the road's ditched there. And have
Correct.
it get ditched that way.
Okay.
But if they're having water issues now, I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, Mike, because my lot is lower already.
So you're definitely looking at bringing some fill in to build your lot
Oh,
up.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Currently, right now, I've shot grades there, and the road is 10 inches higher than the actual lot.
Yep.
So there is fill coming in that's going to raise it up, which
Okay.
is going to slope it down to the three sides of either three sides, and then we'll have to ditch it and have it all run to the front ditch
Yeah, so your intentions is to ditch both sides of the lot. You'll
and
put
the
a,
rear. It's all going to have to be ditched and create a swale across the back and the sides and bring it all to the front.
okay. So I'm wondering, I'm gonna ask Jeff this, is if we can put, I should have read the conditions, I guess, a little bit better. Maybe we'll let you read the conditions before I ask.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on this particular application?
Ed and Lorraine. This is Ed.
Right.
We haven't met.
Hi, Andy.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
We've got you got the floor.
My name's Ed McCallum. I'm a neighbor.
Right.
And Lorraine Shaw.
Fair enough.
And we are on the back lot line and the side lot line of this property. So, and as was mentioned, our only real concerns are about the water and where it's going. And Andy has already sort of addressed that. If I had had Andy's number, I would have called him. But I don't have his number, so, so our only, as Andy says, our lots are sort of, I don't think they were ever graded properly to begin with. There are slight swales, but in the two corners of these properties, their water accumulates, especially in the spring. That area is a fair bit of clay. So permeate, water drainage away from the homes is a little difficult if we have very heavy rains. That extraordinary rain we had in 2012, all these lots were covered in water, but that's an extraordinary event for sure. I know that on this lot, one of the neighbors who's affected there had actually dug a trough down the lot line to the front on Helbium, which helped relieve a lot of that water that was accumulating in those corners. So our only concern is, as Andy's mentioned, if this lot is built up to any extent, where's all the water going to go? And he's sort of addressed that to a certain extent, that it will be ditched or troughed to the Helbium side. So we've had 3 of the houses on that back portion there have all had flooding issues, basements. So we just don't want to, I'm looking to make sure that nothing in that sort is exacerbated over time.
So are you happy with what he has to say?
Pretty happy. I've met Andy and talked to him, great guy. He's built a number of houses in the area, and everybody I've talked to.
Yeah, you don't want the house float away.
Oh. Well, if it's on slabs, and I don't think his is gonna float away, but it's just, that was my only concern, is that any water that's already accumulating is not gonna be increased by.
Do you hear him, Andy?
I can hear him. Yeah, absolutely.
Are you okay with what he's saying and what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm
Okay.
going to do is probably going to alleviate that problem. I agree that on the northeast side of my property in the corner where there's 3 properties meet, it just ponds there. It was never really graded properly. So once I have finished there and bring mine up, it's going to create a swale and we can just have it run off down to the front. And they will still be sitting higher than me also. So anything that I do should not technically affect you guys. Once the swale's in anyway, it doesn't matter, but my house is probably going to be still sit lower than you because you're slightly elevated up there. I think you're about 2 feet higher, in all honesty.
Houses, that part of the property, as I say, the water sits there, and or some pump running for months on end, but
Yeah,
Are you okay with that?
yeah.
What he has to say?
I think that, my only concern was just to bring it up. I think.
Oh, you did the right
Andy
thing.
can easily alleviate any of that,
He-
just through grading and.
He did the right thing. It's a little hard to stop the river after it starts going, so.
Yeah, that was our only concern.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like Andy is gonna just ditch it properly, and that's the only thing. I think, Andy, though, our property probably is lower than yours. Or did I need this on?
sorry, I can't hear that.
Sorry, I didn't put the mic
There we
on.
go. There we go.
I'm just happy if the ditching is done and that is taken care of. I do think probably our property is lower than yours. We're on the corner of Glebe and Halbium. You built our house.
You're on the corner of Glebe.
Yeah, Wiccan,
Oh, Wayne's old
Fine.
house. Your Wayne's, that was
Yes.
Wayne?
exactly, yes. yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I
So
tried
there's
knocking on your door the other day to
I
interview.
know, we missed you. Yeah, just to make sure that the ditching is done and that we don't,
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
okay,
And I
gotcha.
mean, once we have everything finalized, the surveyors are going to come in. They will do a site plan. They'll do a grading plan with this whole thing. It's going to be done right.
Great.
Obviously, we don't want any problems. I don't want any problems. You don't want any problems.
Yeah.
I got to live there. So
Yeah.
Just make it
All right,
right.
Andy, thank you very much for that.
you're
You don't
welcome.
want the problem before you get there.
Exactly.
I think we're okay to go. So we'll deal with the issue of the variance. I need a mover and seconder. Go ahead. Oh, yeah, there are conditions, Andy. We're gonna
Yes.
get that.
Second. So
Get your wallet out.
Yeah. It's starting to sound that way.
So notice of the minor variance was circulated as required by regulation on July 30th, 2024. The following comments were received. 2 emails of concern over water runoff were received from Lorraine Shine and Ed McCallum. Should the committee decide to grant the requested variances, the following conditions would be appropriate. Number 1, this variance applies to a single-family dwelling, attached garage and shed as shown generally on the property sketch dated June 6, 2024, and attached to the decision. Any encroachment beyond the variance granted herein will require a further application for a minor variance. Condition 2, prior to the pouring of footings, the applicants must submit confirmation from an Ontario land surveyor that the proposed lot coverage complies as granted by the committee. And condition 3, prior to occupancy, the applicant shall implement and maintain a planting strip along the interior side lot lines and rear lot line to screen the proposed development from neighboring properties.
You okay with that, Andy?
I just have, so I'm gonna relocate the pool house. All right, I want to relocate the pool house because apparently east and west, the sun sets in the west. So I want to move it's still going to be the same size. I just want to reconfigure the pool house. That's all. Is that a problem?
Speak to that, Joe.
Yeah, as long as it complies with the setbacks, it shouldn't be an issue right
It
now.
will,
It's-
yeah,
we're looking
it's-
at the
it-
lot
there's-
coverage.
There's plenty of room there. It's not a problem. So moving it around, relocating it is not an issue. The only thing I have a concern on is the plantings around the property line. I don't have a problem with doing some plantings, but nobody else has had to do that. So why do I have to plant 3 sides? I'm going to be putting a fence up because I'm putting a pool in, obviously.
You're the new guy on the street.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Want to comment on that, Joe?
Sure, I can comment on that. So staff, as per the report, were just concerned originally at 24%, that the proposal was overdevelopment of the lot. So when you're at 24% or even 20% as opposed to 15, sometimes when you have that much structure on your property, it's good to have vegetation buffers to provide
Understand.
you as a property owner, but also to your neighbors. So that was the intent of those. That
Okay.
recommended condition is just to provide a vegetation buffer between the neighbors.
Okay, so I mean, the one side has trees on it that we planted on, what do I call it, Bill and Lori's old house, not Bill and Lori, Bill and Wendy's house. So is a fence going to be sufficient? Because I was going to do some plantings anyway. That was a reality, but this makes it sound like you're almost stipulating I got to put a hedge in. There's no real. It's a very open-ended statement here. Like, am I putting in a hedge all the way around?
So if I may through chair, so planting strip is a defined term in the zoning bylaw, and it does pertain to a kind of a vegetation buffer, mostly a hedge. The committee through condition could say a fence, could say a combination. It's up to that. You can have a discussion with the applicant, and if you think.
That was actually my intentions. There's going to be trees. I was going to plant trees on the perimeter. And then there's going to be a fence, obviously has to go up, which I'm forced, I have to do because of the pool.
What do we have to do? Go ahead, Joe.
We visited the lot yesterday and,
You're interested in buying it?
I got enough lots, thanks. I'd like to just maybe make a comment about the planting strip and maybe
enough.
add where applicable. That row of spruce trees on I guess it'll be the southeast side or the south side. It seems senseless to build either a fence or another row of trees against a row of trees. The rear lot line looks like it needs something. And even on the other side lot line, there is quite a bit of vegetation. So it seems kind of senseless to have 2 rows of trees that are going to be 10 feet apart. That's a pretty nice hedgerow of spruce there, so I don't think anybody's gonna come along, and cut them down. So I'd just like to maybe add something just saying, where necessary, or to give it a little bit of leniency there. And then my other comment is on the moving forward. I have no problem with the extra lot coverage. The reasoning, of course, is making something wheelchair accessible. Our population's growing, and I think there will always will be a need for that, and I think it makes total sense. It's a nice big lot, it's right in town, and it will be nice to have some of those type of residents in Halliburton, so I would support the application.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You want to comment, Jeff?
Yeah, just given committee member Walker's comments, we could change the condition. In past variances, what we've used as wording is implement and or maintain a vegetation buffer along those boundaries, so that keep what's there. If there's nothing there, then add something.
That'd probably help it, would I would think.
That's fair.
Also, I think you're directly behind him, right? So you'd be the one that
Yes.
has the most view, I guess, of it.
Mhm.
There's not many trees between you and him.
Yep.
But I'm kind of hearing you talk in the background here a little bit. You're
I'd
fine
rather
with,
just work with Andy and see what he
and
wants
you
to put
guys
in
can
there.
maybe
And
kind of do a combo thing of planting
Yep.
some trees or something.
Well, I-
So
I do have my leaping tile, the septic bed is back there near that lot line, so I'd rather not have anything that's gonna possibly grow into it.
right.
So-
Yep. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm with Jerry. I support it. I got a little background on drainage and grades and stuff, so on my work experience. But anyway, I think you can make it work. I think you can make it work, Andy, quite easily. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
I've got no issues with it either. I'm good with it.
So I'll move that application.
Seconder, Chris Bishop. It's been
Can I
moved
just
and
jump in?
seconded and be it resolved, the committee's decision with respect to file D13 MV 2024-14 be recorded as follows. A variance to section 5.2 depending on maximum lot coverage of, there's a blank here. 20%? That what we're saying?
Yeah, originally staff circulated at 24% in error because we included the pool in that calculation, but it's
So-
not included in the.
so it's 20.
20%.
So maximum lot coverage to be 20% as opposed to the permitted maximum of 15% is granted. We're available when you have open house.
Not a problem. Come on by for a swim and an umbrella drink. Hey, can I just add something here or ask a question?
Absolutely.
So we're late in the season. I can't get Bishops in to do a survey and get everything cited and get the drawings completed. Obviously to start this fall, which was my original hopes and dreams, but it's going to be a spring thing. I have amassed a ton of materials that I need for this house. Am I okay if I just put a pad at the back, stone pad, and I just want to stockpile everything and tarp it? Is that going to be a problem? I have to take acceptance of all this material that's been paid for. They've been stocking it for me and they want me to take it. So is that a big issue?
What is he gonna do? Put it in the house? Put it on the lot?
Yeah, I can't see why it would be an issue. You can give me a call after, Andy, and we can talk about it. It might be something we want to run by the building department, just making sure you're not.
Yeah.
conflicting
Okay. Sorry, is this Adam that's talking?
No, sorry, this is Jeff Isles that's talking.
Jeff?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can give me a call after the meeting and
What's
just
the
wanna
best
run-
number to reach you at, Jeff?
it's 705
Yeah,
457
yeah.
1740
Sorry,
1740
740. And your extension?
625.
Thank you. I'll give you a shout.
Yeah, I just want to run it by the
What's
chief.
a good
building-
time to talk, to call you?
Yep, sounds good.
What time's the best time to talk to you?
Oh, sorry. You can call me anytime this afternoon.
Mid-afternoon? Okay. All right, I have another Zoom meeting at 1:30, so it'll probably be after that.
I'm here till 4:30.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Is there anything else for the good of the township? Anybody else? Did you people want to participate in any of this, or you? We already did it? Oh, we did it. Okay. Hey?
This one. Last file.
Oh, the boss people. Yeah, okay. We're good. Like to come forward? We don't usually have this much paper around here. Mike and Kathleen Boss, welcome. You want to just start it off and then we'll carry on from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we currently have a building permit to reconstruct the original portion of our cottage. We've already made a two-story addition beside that. And we are hoping to raise our roof or our walls from 8 feet to 10 feet. That's what we're requesting.
Okay.
And
I
the
know-
idea is to match and blend the roof lines of the two-story addition that
Mhm.
we've already built. And we have support from both our neighbors. We do not have anybody living behind us, and we actually own property on the other side of the road as well, so that's what we're looking
Just a quick question. So you've got the new dwelling that's there that's not joined, not joined.
It's very
So
confusing.
that-
We don't
very
know what
con-
to
it
call
is
the
very
addition.
confusing. And then what I thought was that you wanted, the piece that was going to attach to the house wanted to have the higher roof line. But no, you want to raise the roof on the existing cottage, which apparently is already torn down.
Yes.
Yes.
It is torn down. So, but it still is going to be, it's going to be lower, it will be lower than the
Yeah.
roof line of.
Of the
what's
two-story.
there now.
Correct. Yeah.
And you're going to join that. Okay.
Sorry, Chris. So basically you're gonna go with you're looking at using 10-foot studs rather than 8-foot studs. I
at.
guess.
Absolutely. That's the only thing we're looking to change.
And well, and the pitch would be higher because you're going to go.
It's the same pitch, just putting
But if you go.
10-foot studs.
But if you go from 8 to 10, that's 2 feet. How are you getting the extra 2 feet on the roof line?
Well, the whole roof would be raised by 2 feet. It's gonna,
the
the
roof-
slope, we're not asking to change with the roof.
The roof that would have been here is just going 2 feet higher. Exactly
So
the
it's going
same.
from 8 feet to 10 feet.
Yes, the walls.
Yeah.
So I'm confused here.
Okay, okay.
So the the building that you're replacing
Mhm.
is the roof line is gonna match the one that's built.
It's not,
No, it's not.
it's gonna approach it. So we have a two-story building already.
The one that you've built
Yes.
with a permit.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was supposed to be an addition, but wasn't.
Well, it is.
It
It was
was-
phase one of two phases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So phase two, then
We're reconstructing the original cottage. that
on
was-
the original footprint,
Yes,
and the only thing you're asking is to take the roof line of the new replacement building
Reconstructing, yeah.
2 feet higher than the one you've already built,
Or not higher than that, just
the same height.
instead of using 8-foot.
Well, no,
studs,
I don't care about the,
10-foot
how,
studs.
don't care about how high the studs are. I'm worried
Okay.
about what the roof line is.
The roof line will be below the two-story addition, but it'll make it look a little more conformed instead of having. a
So what's the
two-story
minor variance
one
for
story.
that?
2
Closest,
feet, 2 feet.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If I may, through you, Chair. Back in our emails at the start, you said the existing cottage was 15.5 feet from ground to peak. You're looking to add the walls and a roof and all that stuff. It would be a total of 19 foot 4 inches. So that's 3.9 feet increase. Or 3.9 foot increase. That's what the variance is for, to increase the height 3.9 feet within the 0 to 10 meters from the high water mark.
but it's not actually because we didn't have the foundation out.
Yeah, because right now I have a permit for 8-foot walls.
Well, no, the walls mean nothing. This variance is about the height of the peak.
But it's the height of the wall that
Yeah.
changes the height of.
Well, I know, but that's all we're dealing with is where is the peak
Mhm.
of the building you're building now?
Well, if,
So Adam, when we were emailing back and forth, we didn't have the helical piles in the ground at that point, so it was a guesstimation of how high those would be out. They're actually lower than the block foundation that the building was sitting on before, so that part was a guesstimation based on that.
Okay, so for the variance, we have it increasing 3.9 feet. Now that you know the actual dimensions of it, how much is it increasing? Like, can you tell the committee? Because if they decide to grant it, they don't need to grant 3.9 feet now. They could grant, say you said 2 feet, right?
well,
That's what we're trying to clarify.
well, if I just go with the permit I have right now, I'm gonna have 8-foot walls. And whatever the peak is on. If
Well,
we get
that's-
this variance, I'm just gonna, roof is just gonna be 2 feet higher.
So- So
That's gonna change the-
let's look at this picture here.
Yeah.
So your roof line, if you just did it as you're permitted now.
Yep.
Okay, so this roof line is gonna come in here, right where it's at, right up. So, but you're not looking to go to match up with this. You're gonna be in this neighborhood somewhere,
2 feet,
2
2
feet.
feet higher than the existing
Yes.
roof that's there now.
which would bring you about 3 or 4 feet below where the actual peak of the new addition is.
So they don't need a variance.
Well,
Well,
I
you
don't
do.
know that.
I think this, we need to do a site visit. Do, we,
Well, the
is that,
existing cottage is gone.
oh, the existing cottage is
I
gone.
already have, I have the deck built, I'm ready to order them this afternoon. I'm just asking, can I order 2x8s or 2x10s for my house?
And the roof, the pitch of the roof line has, so you're the builder, is this roof line, the previous roof line gonna be 2 feet higher or 4 feet higher? Because the variance that says it's gonna be 3.9 feet higher, is it gonna be 2 feet higher or 4 feet higher?
The old original cottage was so
Yeah.
saggy and yucky, I wouldn't even,
Go ahead, Jeff.
But they're on the plans, would the plans tell you what the height of the roof is gonna be?
And if I may, it's probably difficult for the applicants to tell right now because structure height is the variance, so. And structure height is measured from the average finished grade, so till everything's done, it might be hard to tell. So it's a good idea regardless of whether it's 2 or 4 feet to add a bit of a buffer, just so that if they do go slightly over 2, that it's accounted for in the variance, so it's better to err on side of the caution, like 2 feet, I've talked to surveyors, 2 feet, they're not gonna measure all that close anyways, so if that's the difference, the committee's considering whether it's 2 or 4 feet, I don't think it really matters, I would err on the side of caution in that instance. Just so that it gives them a bit of a buffer, depending what their lot grade ends up at.
So my question, Jeff, is do they need a variance to raise, to bring the peak of their new building that they're gonna build now? Do they need a variance to match the height of the addition they've already built?
So my understanding is
No,
they're
just a
not gonna
minute.
match the addition.
They're gonna be
It's
below.
only gonna be a 1-story, the original section.
But
we're
they
here
don't-
discussing
do
is
they
gonna be
need-
1-story.
I'm losing this here. That why do they need a variance to go, as long as they don't go higher than the building that's there now, do they need a variance?
They wouldn't, but they are gonna go 2 to 4 feet taller than what's there now.
No, they're not though. They're saying they're not.
Sorry, what used to be there? We're just talking about the original. Forget.
Well,
the
that's
addi-
my
the two-story
question.
addition,
The
yeah,
original building,
yeah.
they
this-
need a variance to go higher than the original peak?
Correct, because of its proximity to the water. So what the bylaw says is if you're within 10 meters of the lake or 33 from the lake.
Yes,
feet
I
from the lake,
understand.
because it's a legal non-complying building, you can't increase its height at all. So
Oh.
right now, I think it's 15.5 feet roughly, and
Yes,
so to
okay.
even go any taller, they would need a variance. So
Right.
they're asking to go.
So my
We've
question
circulated
is,
that
how
before.
did they get a permit to do an addition to a non-conforming building that's higher than the roof line?
It's beyond 33 feet, it's set back.
It's beyond the 33 feet.
Oh, this addition?
The
is-
addition is beyond that 33 feet.
we're like
So-
right on we stepped it back a few feet just to make that work.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's
No,
really-
fair enough, yeah. And at the end of the day, we're just trying, we don't want this addition peak to be higher than the other peak.
No,
But we just want to bring it so it's a little more uniform, so it doesn't look like here's this small original, and now we built this two-story beside it. We want to blend it in.
No.
No,
no.
and from our waterfront, you can barely see that addition because it's fully treed and we want to keep it that way. The
tall
two-story,
part,
you
yes.
can barely see it, and even what
Even-
we're building now, our waterfront is well heavily treed.
Even with its bright white Tyvek, you still don't see it.
Yeah.
Are we okay now?
yes, now with that clarification, I'll move that we accept or that we grant the variance as applied for with condition.
Through your chair, I'm gonna read the comments and conditions. Notice of the minor variance was circulated as required by regulation on July 30th, 2024. The following comments have been received. A letter of support was received from James and Gail Hatton, the neighboring property owner. A letter of support was received from Greg Rosna and Rosina and Carrie Mountjoy, the neighboring property owner. A letter of support was received from Pete and Anita Van Rootsler, the neighboring property owner. Should the committee decide to grant the requested variances, the following conditions would be appropriate. One, this variance applies to the seasonal dwelling as shown generally on the property sketch dated July 5th, 2024 and attached to the decision. Any encroachment beyond the variance granted herein will require a further application for a minor variance. Condition 2, the County of Halliburton Shoreline Tree Preservation Bylaw 3505 applies. The injuring or destruction of trees within 30 meters of the high water mark is not permitted. The exemptions noted in Section 3 of Bylaw 3505 apply. Furthermore, additional native shoreline planting is encouraged to screen the buildings, naturalize the shoreline, and address environmental concerns. Condition 3, during construction, proper site preparation and construction methods are to be used to prevent sedimentation of the adjacent lake. Sediment fencing is to be installed down gradient from the construction site. The site is to be properly stabilized immediately following construction to prevent erosion and sedimentation. Condition 4, prior to the pouring of footings, the applicants must submit confirmation from an Ontario land surveyor that the area of encroachment of the portion of the proposed dwelling within 10 meters, 33 feet from the high water mark does not increase from the area of encroachment of the existing dwelling. Condition 5, prior to the pouring of footings, the applicants must submit confirmation from an Ontario land surveyor the maximum structure height of the portion of the dwelling located within 10 meters, 33 feet from the high water mark. Condition 6, prior to the pouring of footings, the shed shall be removed or moved into compliance with the zoning bylaw. Condition 7, prior to the pouring of footings, the corrugated metal structure and tarp structure shall be removed. Condition number 8, no outdoor lighting shall be attached to the wall of the seasonal dwelling abutting the shoreline at a height above 4.5 meters or 15 feet. Condition 9, the applicant shall submit a site assessment of the wetland in accordance with section 5.3.4.3 to the satisfaction of the municipality. All expenses associated with the site assessment and peer review of the site assessment will be at the applicant's expense.
Can I speak to a few of those? The foundation's already in, so we can't prior to the big, and we didn't do footings. We did helical piles in order to avoid, to minimize the impact on the land. When we built that two-story part, nothing was said about wetlands. All of a sudden now we ask for something and now we're on wetlands and we need to do all these reports for it. I'm not sure.
I'd like to amend my motion to eliminate condition number 9. Obviously, they weren't asked anything about a wetland on their first building. And it appears that the footprint's the same, and I don't see the need for a wetland assessment. It's only gonna hold them up, and I can't see where the difference is gonna be by just simply rebuilding what was there before. So that's, I'll make that motion to grant the variance and take out condition number 9.
Barry?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Are you realized about moving the shed and all that? That's,
So we do have a tarp structure that I have right now, some of my equipment and some of my materials in. Oh, sorry. We do have a tarp structure that is currently holding our materials and some of my tools while construction. We absolutely intend on taking that down. The steel pod, it's a portable unit as well. It's holding supplies and tools. And we would have no problem when this is complete. Actually, we want to get rid of it. It's kind of ugly. So that's not a problem. The shed that we do have, it's been on that property through all of our permits. It's never been a problem. I don't understand why now all of a sudden that's a problem. Because we've had you guys have inspected it.
Built it on footings that were there. Like if you see our cottage when we bought it, it was quite a shack. It was quite horrific. Things like we rebuilt our deck with a permit on the footings that you could see in the ground, but the deck had rotted away. The shed is exactly the same thing. I have pictures. I can show you. It's rotted to the ground and the footings are there. They're very distinctive. They're painted red patio stones. They're still there. It was rebuilt in the same place. We didn't ask for a permit for that because it was after having done the deck, we understood on the same thing and the building was so small as to not need one.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's under, it's under the 108 square foot, I think.
it's 8 by 12, is that right?
I believe so. 8 by 10 or 8 by 12, yeah.
Can you help us with that one, Jeff? Or
The one in the trees, yes.
Yeah, so as per the site plan, the shed's located 40 feet from the lake, which doesn't comply with the water setback. Right now, what the condition says is prior to the pouring of the footings, the shed shall be removed or moved into compliance with the zoning bylaw. What we can do is tweak that to say the shed shall be removed or brought into compliance with the zoning bylaw. It opens up some options for the applicants to provide proof of legal non-compliant status. So if that shed has been there for a long time, it might have grandfathered status and that would satisfy that condition. But without that condition, and if it doesn't have legal non-complying status, even if you remove that condition, it wouldn't legalize that building. It would still be a non-compliant building within the water setback.
I can show you a photo if you like from when we looked at the place. It doesn't look like anything, but that was it. Like if-
There was
I
Muskoka
believe you.
chairs that were literally flat on the ground when we bought this property. And again, it's nestled in the trees from the lake. You cannot even see that shed.
Oh, look at
Yeah. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
So, the survey from the road closing application in 2005 does not have that shed on it. That's why staff recommend to remove or bring it into compliance as it wasn't there prior to 1977.
But,
But,
well,
yeah, I
that's
mean,
what,
again,
it doesn't look like a shed
they
there.
don't-
But,
Well,
and we rebuilt that because that's what was there. And we knew that it was small enough that we didn't need a permit. We permitted for our deck.
yeah.
We permitted for our addition and that shed was there and we were granted that permit without it being an issue then. We got this permit to reconstruct the original without that being an issue. Now that we've applied for a variance, now we're being asked to move that. I don't feel that that's fair.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I can address that. So the way our policies are written and the way the Ontario Planning Act is written is it defines the word development. So development is defined as creating a new lot, changing a use, or constructing a building that requires Planning Act approval. So all our policies say prior to development, you have to do these certain issues as outlined in the official plan. So if you were just going to get a building permit, you do not have to address the policies of the official plan. But because you're going through the planning process, it triggers the Planning Act, it triggers our official plan, the county official plan. So that's why you're now being asked to do certain things. If you were building in compliance with zoning bylaw and just going for street building permits, you probably wouldn't have been asked to look at any of the other compliance issues.
So with all my like septic inspection. So now my concern is if you look at, there's a 24-inch oak tree there that is surrounded by birch trees. I cannot get a crane in there to move that. I don't know how you're gonna do more damage than good.
So,
I'm gonna have to cut down those trees.
so this question to Jeff, if he can prove that that shed was there prior to 1977, it can be left there as a non-compliant building, is that correct?
Correct, as a legal non-compliant building. So that's the definition. That's when our zoning bylaw first came into effect, was 1977. So anything that legally existed before that would have legal non-compliant status. So if they prove that to us,
The only proof I would have is that photo.
Is that photo proof enough that we could deal with that today?
well, just in my assessment, it's not a shed, it's a pile of wood.
It's the,
So the
that's what we
way,
bought.
if you look up what legal non-complying is, it says that it has to remain in that location unchanged from then until now. So if a building is demolished or if a building falls down, it will lose that legal non-compliant
Yeah, you
status. It
can't-
has to continue. So you can't have it demolished for 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, and still continue to have that legal non-compliant.
But we
status.
were able to do that with our deck. Off the front of our building. When I put in my permit for that, at first they said, no, you can't build that. You're so close to the water. And then they said, can you prove that it is on exactly the same footings? And I said, yes, they're in the ground here.
Yeah.
Same thing with a photo. And then we were able to, even though the deck was not there, there were Christmas trees 6 feet tall where the deck should have been. And we were able to circumvent it that way.
We're the second family to own this property and it was in dire need of repair when we bought it. We knew what we were getting into. And we are just trying to do our best to bring that up to today's standards. Our neighbors are very happy that this process is happening because otherwise it was a rotting structure, just falling apart. And I can prove that because I went through the floor while I was demoing it.
He
It
did
was so
right through
rotted,
the floor.
I fell right through the floor.
And you can tell me if I'm wrong. But it looks like it's a possibility that you may be able to bring the shed sideways and then bring it back. Is that a possibility or not? Like from that photo, what I'm looking at, it looks like that could be. And it being an 8x10, I'm not thinking of a crane. I'm thinking more like you could go in there with a skid steer with a set of forks on it.
Well, I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know that you're gonna have
I'm
enough room to
not-
do that.
What, sorry?
I don't know that you would have enough room to do that.
I don't
I-
either. I don't know that for sure. I'm just going by the picture that it sort of looks like you could, but how close is it then to your existing?
Well, I think, I don't.
Like,
So the variance is gonna go the way it's presented here, right? Is that correct?
I believe so. We're just talking about the conditions.
Okay.
yes,
So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have unless you can somehow prove to the planning department that it was there before 77, I guess the only option we have is to force that condition to have it relocated. I know what you mean. I've been through it myself on a project. It was a lot more major than this. It doesn't seem right, but unfortunately, with everything else that you're doing, I think that's probably one we have to adhere to that condition.
And what would be the timeline on that? Just as we're
I
both
would-
teachers
I'd
and we
like
need
to
to get the
sug-
building up.
well,
I'd like to-
basically.
I'd like to suggest that we do these conditions on final occupancy.
Exactly. I was just gonna
And then
say
that
that you
allows
could,
you-
you can leave it there until you just won't get your final
Final
occupancy
Okay.
until those
We've done
conditions are
that
met.
before.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
All these conditions, same as your little sheds and everything you're
Perfect.
storing. Before you get that final stamp, we've allowed that as a condition and you get everything ready. You're ready for final and then those have to be either relocated or proven, whatever. Gives you some timeline there.
For sure, thank you.
So can I change condition 4, 5, 6, and 7 that start with prior to the pouring of footings and do prior to occupancy? That's for removal of the sheds and the OLS conditions.
You good with that?
Is that what you were talking about?
Okay, well, let's seal this off here. It's moved by Gerald Walker and seconded by Barry Boyce. It be resolved the committee's decision with respect to file D13 MV 2024-15 be recorded as follows. a variance to section 319 to permit the height of a legal non-complying seasonal dwelling within 10 meters of high water mark to increase 1.2 meters to 3.9 feet as opposed to the required 0 meters, 0 feet. So the total structure height is 5.9 meters or 19.4 feet is granted. Carried? Yeah, he's gonna do that.
Yeah, it's noted. We'll
Yep.
remove condition 9 and edit those other conditions.
Sorry you had to be last, but last comes best, so there you go. Thank you.
So, Don, can you adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Gerald Walker and Chris Bishop ended there.
Time you got there, Don?
12:30.